Today we're going to go over 13 of the biggest mistakes you are making in Apex Legends that are both stunting your growth and improvement as a player, and these are things that you might not even be aware that you are doing. Hit that like button, let's get right into it. Wasting ammo is something that everyone does, literally every game, as you have to expend ammo to apply pressure, but specifically, I want to highlight wasting ammo through opening a fight a little bit too early. Entering too early basically just means you're starting to shoot at a player either from too far away or you are not completely on target as you start to fire. Both of these are massive to just cause you to have to reload mid-fight, and this ends up being a big factor the more and more players you are going to have to take on. Waiting just a fraction of a second before you do start to fire enemies to make sure you are hitting that first round is going to help you be more accurate throughout that spray and better help you finish an enemy without having to do a reload. Be sure to monitor your limitations. If enemies are too far for you to really control and you are looking to fully enter that fight, wait till you are a little bit closer before engaging. Just keep in mind though, this is different from applying pressure and taking space. You still need to be doing this, but more specifically, this is when you are about to frag out. Playing with someone else's settings is a mistake I see many players over prioritizing. You can use someone else's settings as a starting point, but that's just about it. Just because something works for a pro player doesn't really mean it is going to work for you or myself. Everyone in the world is different and unique. What's best for someone else may not really apply to you. There's also just a ton of ways to play with success. There isn't one rulebook or one setting that is going to make you play better. A basic guideline I will provide for you though is that you should not be playing with too high sense if you are struggling with your aim. I would just start with something like 4-4 classic or 4-4 linear and keep it really simple and then adapt from here. And remember, what do you want to achieve in your sensitivity? Do you want to be able to turn around really fast and get some shots on enemies, or do you want to be a little bit more consistent in your close and long range beams? So you move like a bot. Well, you gotta fix that, and the next mistake revolves around your movement, but it's not what you might think it is. You absolutely do not need to be doing any sort of crazy, flashy pro movement tricks to be successful in Apex, and if anything, lack of the appropriate skill or even knowledge of the game to back up that movement is gonna start to make you play even worse. Sliding, climbing, strafing, and stowing your weapons is all you need to make creative plays and make your fights happen. Keep it very simple, but be aware you still need that healthy middle ground of an absolute bot movement with no movement at all and being a complete demon. You just finished the fight, so you go into that death box to start looting, and what do? You get third-partied by someone approaching. Do not let that third party control or grief your game. If you just finished a fight, you have to armor swap or heal up absolutely right away. Just do the right thing. Way too many times do I see random teammates start to loot a death box and their health is extremely low. Immediately pop a Phoenix kit, a battery. Your priorities really should be to armor swap. If not armor swapping, you should be popping a battery. If not batterying, you should be popping a med kit or a Phoenix kit. After you do this, then you can loot up, and if everything looks fine, you can take your armor back and then heal that up. Either way, you need to always be immediately healing after a fight. Don't let that third party take advantage of you. In line with looting or armor swapping, looting on its own can be a problem, and we will talk more about that shortly, but bypassing loot is something that I think everyone can fall in a trap for. Everyone knows that you need ammo and you need heals, but sometimes taking those ultimate accelerants and some extra grenades are things players need to be prioritizing just a little bit more. If you are playing Wraith, Revenant, Horizon, Gibraltar, Caustic, Watson, Bloodhound, and Crypto, these are the minimum legends I would suggest that you need to have an ultimate accelerant on standby, as having more ultimates can aggressively pick up your playmaking potential. As for grenades, everyone of course needs to have at least one, but Fuse, Horizon, Valkyrie, Caustic, Gibraltar, Mad Maggie, Ash, and Revenant can all do a little bit more to combo their abilities with grenades, so keep this in mind if you like to play any of these legends. Respecting your enemies sounds a little bit weird because of course you want to get your enemies down, but a lack of respect for your enemy's skill level is something I think many players need to identify pretty early on in a fight. You can do this by just showing some presence and some map awareness by not letting enemies push to you or get too much space to the point where you really don't have many play options or movement to make plays because they are already so close that you can't do anything. This really comes back to trying to control an engagement and trading shots, and just applying pressure and presence is really going to be key to do this. Good players literally do this all the time in their matches. They are going to consistently poke enemies just to let them know that they are there and they are a force to be reckoned with. So be sure to have enough respect for your enemies by showing some presence and don't let them push into your area. unless you want to. Going hand in hand with a lack of respect for your enemies is going to be both overextending in both a traditional movement sense and in your fights. This does go hand in hand with just a lack of controlling your character's health and status. This is all really basic stuff that can kind of just be forgotten, just not prioritized enough from a new player who is struggling to get better. Be sure you are not getting too far away from your teammates where you are pushing into the enemy's territory just a little bit too far where your team maybe cannot help out too much. A big thing is if you are in front of your teammates, if you are pushing into a building, your teammates will no longer have a line of sight on you, which is a massive way for them to not be able to help you. Over peeking in your fight is basically just staying out a little bit too long, sending out too many shots without taking cover. Just be aware of these two things. Do not overextend into an area where you cannot get out, and do not over peek to the point where you are taking just too much damage. Have an understanding of how much health you actually have and be in control of its status. Apex Legends is a first-person shooter, so shooting is important. I bet you didn't know that. The big mistake I do see, though, is letting your character control you. And specifically, this is over-prioritizing or overusing Legends abilities when you need to be firing your weapon. Such examples could be Crypto using their drone, or shooting Fuse's knuckle clusters when an enemy is right in front of you, maybe hitting a scan when the player is also right in front of you, or you are using Octane Stim 40 times into a battle and virtually cutting your health in half. Don't do that. Do not get trapped in the thought process of over-prioritizing and overusing an ability just because for some reason you think you have to. And remember, again, keeping it simple is going to be best. Focus on that gun skill. There is literally nothing more important in Apex Legends. This is a quick reminder for those of you who continue to do the cardinal sin of Apex Legends, which is overlooting. Just stop it. Don't do it. Get some guns or a gun, then go and take the fight. More time fighting means more time improving, which also equals getting better faster. It's as simple as that. Obviously, do not push a fight with no loot or you're so underlooted that you aren't going to be able to do much, but if you can, take the fight earlier than later. Apex Legends is of course a team game, which is massive to your in-game success. Being a good teammate is always just great to have, but you don't always have control of what your random teammates do, and you are probably the perfect player, so it's always going to be their fault and not yours. We all know that you are perfect and I am perfect, and our teammates definitely suck all the time. Jokes aside though, even if you aren't communicating with your squad, it is going to be just huge to be aware of their movements and what they are doing, and I really call this a lack of team awareness. If they are engaging, pay close attention to this and then support them. It is everyone's job to be mindful of the squad, and if you can't play off your teammates without even communicating to them, you will be so in sync to the point where everything in the game will simply just be easier. Keep an open eye and an open mind on your teammates, be a great teammate, and support them even if you are not communicating to them. Like we just mentioned, if you are blaming your teammates, if it always feels like it is their fault, it maybe could be, but you can't really do a ton about this, so taking ownership of your games needs to be done more by everyone. And the big mistake I do see all the time is constantly passing blame around. But take a look at the match, figure out what you could have done better to change the outcome, and then take a look at your squad, own up to your mistakes, whether they are yours or maybe even not your fault, and learn from everything that just happened. Don't stress the stuff that you cannot control. Like your teammates, look more internally and take ownership of your game. Does every game feel like you are fighting an uphill battle, maybe figuratively or literally? Well, that's probably because you have poor starting position, much like opening fights too early. This is worth mentioning. There are spots you'll be in that are simply a lose-lose scenario, and having the capability to recognize this is going to be key. Trying to withdraw is something that you can do. Retreating is okay. You don't always need to take the fight. If you retreat, you do have an option to go again later, and you can try to get better positioning. If this is not possible, if you don't have the space to retreat, it might just be worthwhile running as a team to get that guaranteed ranked points by taking out that second place or the third place squad and letting that first place team win the game. It's okay to recognize that you cannot win a game from your spot, but what you do with it is going to be the more important thing. Discipline in training. Lack of having specific discipline around your growth as a player is something that everyone probably does need to prioritize a little bit more. If you can have a steady training regime to improve your abilities, you are going to massively improve even over the course of just a couple days. This is going to help you build consistency in your Apex Legends matches, and it's massively important to build as much consistency as you can in an RNG battle royale where you are not going to get the same loot every single time. Any consistency that you do get with your shot means you are going to be more familiar and more comfortable, and you are just going to do better. Build a consistent strategy by utilizing the firing range, you really only need 3 to 5 minutes before every play session, and have some real self-discipline. Be sure to check out this video for all the crazy stuff that is on the way. You are not going to want to miss it. We have so much on the way. Hit that like button, sub for more. I will see you in the next one.